As a supporter of First Liberty, you helped us have an impactful year of defending religious liberty. So let's dive in and review highlights of this year. Hi, I'm Peyton Luke, and you're watching First Liberty Live. We had so many legal matters and victories this year, so I'm excited for today's episodes where we get to review them. And with me today to talk about all the cases is Jeff Mateer, our Chief Legal Officer. So Jeff, welcome to First Liberty Live.
Hey, Peyton. Great to be here again.
Well, it's awesome to have you. And I love the tie that you're wearing as well, too.
Yeah, so it's
Isn't it Scottish?
It is Scottish. So it's actually the Mateer clan, and it kind of Christmas colors at least.
Yeah, it works.
So the Mateer clan. So I thought an ode to Scotland today.
That's fun. I like to bring that up because every year on this episode, Jeff always has a fun tie. So that's why I had to mention it. Okay. So then moving on to the important topics of the specific episode, we like to do this episode each year because it's kind of a year-end report, if you will, to our supporters. Because I know people like to know, okay, are nonprofits doing what they said they were going to be doing? So Jeff, this year, did First Liberty fulfill our mission and do what we set out to do?
Right. So our mission is to advance religious liberty. So that's the test. When you think about when you think about First Liberty and are we doing what we say we're going to do, did we advance religious liberty? And, this was a unique year because we were coming off 2 years where we had repeated very important Supreme Court wins. I mean, you think about from a couple years ago, the Kennedy win. I mean, nothing bigger than Coach Kennedy's case, winning that case. And then last year, the Gerald Groff case. And so you're thinking, well, what are we going to do now? Well, what we did this year, and to kick it off, we impacted the military. And what more important? I mean, 2 years ago, we helped students and teachers with rights in our public schools, with the Kennedy case. Last year, all employees with the Groff case. And then this past year, in our Navy SEALs case, we really made a difference in the military.
Yeah, so I would love to give our people an idea of how many cases we had going on. So how many litigation matters did we have this year?
Yeah, we're approaching, and it's not over yet. So as we record this episode, I think we're approaching 140. So that's 140 litigation matters. Now, we have more. We'll have hundreds more matters that aren't litigation, but actual matters that are in litigation, approaching 140.
Yeah, so today we're going to go through some of the highlights. I wish we could talk about all those 140.
No, I'm prepared to talk about 140.
Okay, so we're going to be here a couple days, guys.
So it's like a marathon. We're going to do a marathon going through
24 hours.
Starting at A and go to Z.
Perfect. I'll have Stuart come sub in to take over the second shift.
Right.
There we go.
It's like a filibuster.
Hey, I'm fine with that. Let's go. It would be the first time you're seeing it live here, folks.
Yeah.
Okay, so then to hit some of that key cases, a second ago you mentioned the military. Yeah. So tell us about the SEALs case.
It's always hard when you guys ask, well, can you tell me the top 10? What are the top 10? And of course I'm like, there's 140 and they're all sort of like a child. I mean, which of your children is your favorite child? But you look back on 2024, and by far the one that had the most impact and significance, plus just professionally. I mean, what's better than representing Navy SEALs? These men and women who serve in places that we don't even know. I mean, in getting to meet some of the guys through this case, I mean, they do things, some they couldn't even tell us what they do, but they would be away saying, hey, I'm away on a mission. And you can't say, well, what are you up to? Well, what they're doing is they're in some foreign country doing the work others don't want to do. And I think one of the highlights of the case was we were at the injunction hearing, and the lawyer for the government was cross-examining one of our Navy SEALs. And he was explaining what had happened to him because he was not getting the mandated vaccine for COVID-19, and he had been punished. And so he was talking about the jobs that he was doing, which was like sweeping rooms and things like that. And she made a point that was unpleasant. And he retorted very quickly that like everything he does is unpleasant. Fortunately, we were able to get an historic settlement with the government. An historic settlement that resulted in restoring the 35 Navy SEALs and special warfare members, but also a class of over 4,000 sailors. These are men and women who objected because of their religious beliefs from getting the COVID vaccine and were punished because of that. And so after getting court victories in the district court, at the appellate court, and even going to the Supreme Court and coming back, we were able to enter into what really was historic, favorable settlement with the government that will result in correcting our clients' records, really putting them back to where they should have been. And importantly, for going forward, the Navy now will have to undergo training to make sure that this type of thing doesn't happen. And of course, professionally, as a lawyer and representing First Liberty, one of the best ways to send messages to governmental entities when they take bad acts is they have to pay some money. And so in this case, I'm proud to announce that we received, First Liberty received $1.5 million in attorney's fees. That's a lot of money, and that sent a strong message to DOD. So the Navy SEALs case is by far, we did a lot of interesting cases. I know we're going to talk about some of the others, but clearly the most important, again, legally important, but also just getting, I know you got a chance to meet some of the Navy SEALs.
They're incredible.
And they're just incredible men and women. I mean, and the guys that we've gotten to know through this process, and just an honor to represent men that every day put their lives on the line for us as Americans, and things that we don't even know that's going on.
Yeah, it was such an incredible case. And like you mentioned, when we met them, and one of them who had even had a brain injury, and they were keeping him from going to those treatments.
Yeah, as punishment. I mean, that's all they do. They're vindictive and punishment. And we want to make sure that never happens again. And the whole idea that our military becoming woke and actually putting, those type of things above actually fighting the mission. And these Navy SEALs are all about the mission. Mm-hmm. And they shouldn't have to check their religious beliefs at the door in order to fulfill that mission. We have a long history of people of faith serving honorably. And so that's what this case, we think that our settlement furthers that.
Yeah, that was amazing. And I was very proud of that case, and it was an honor to be part of First Liberty with all that. And I encourage our viewers, if you want to know more about the Navy SEALs case, we have multiple episodes entirely devoted to the Navy SEALs. So you can go to firstlibertylive.com, search in Navy SEALs, and you'll find it there. I encourage you to check it out because it's just an incredible case and story, and years of being in the trenches legally with this case. Okay, so the next case that's up on our list is Dr. Varkey. Tell us about Dr. Varkey.
Yeah, this is another one of those, you couldn't make it up, right? Reality is stranger than fiction. A biology professor at a college in Texas who was fired. Now, what was he fired for? He was fired for teaching biology. Yep. We had a biology teacher fired for teaching biology because he actually believes that biology demonstrates, shockingly, that there are males and there are females.
XX chromosomes and XY chromosomes. Oh no.
Exactly. And he had students who complained. Actually, I think he had 4 complaints in a very distinguished teaching career. The college overreacted and terminated him. And so we were proud to stand with Dr. Varkey. We sent a demand letter to the college and then filed an EEOC action with the Employment Equal Opportunity Commission. And after filing that, entered into negotiations, had some help from some congressmen who weighed in supporting Dr. Varkey, and we were able to again reach a resolution with the university. And earlier this year, Dr. Varkey was reinstated, and he's back teaching where he should be, teaching biology the way that actually exists, and
just doing his job.
Job.
Exactly. Okay. Number 3, Robin Schrader and CVS.
Yeah, another one of those that just doesn't make sense. So CVS, our listeners and viewers are very familiar with CVS, the big pharmacy company. For years, CVS accommodated those employees, people like Robin Strader, who was a nurse practitioner. They accommodated them from not having to participate in anything that led to an abortion. And because of her religious beliefs, Robin opposes abortion or anything that would prevent there being conception. And so that was fine until just about 2 years ago. CVS said they were not going to grant any more exceptions, accommodations.
And she'd had this accommodation.
And she'd had it for years, and they said no. She said, well, I can't do it. I can't, that would violate my religious beliefs. And so they terminated her as well. And so we brought, again, we sent the demand letter, we brought the EEOC charge. In this case, we had to file a federal lawsuit. And so we duked it out for months with CVS, and eventually we're able to enter into a confidential settlement. Now, the interesting about Robin's case is, while we had a great victory by getting Robin that settlement, we still have a case ongoing, and I'm sure Kelly may talk about it when he does the preview of next year, but we represent someone very similar to Robin Strader, Gunna, Christopher's daughter, and Gunna's case against CVS, very similar. It's continuing. CVS hasn't agreed to resolve that one.
Wow. So we'll keep our eye on that case coming up this next year. And yes, as you heard him say, we'll have an episode with Kelly that's forecasting.
Was I allowed to preview that?
Yeah, that was great. That was great. It was a little commercial for the
year-end
next one.
review, and then we do preview.
Exactly. The look forward. That was great. Okay, so Hensley v. State Commission on Judicial Conduct.
Yeah, Diane Hensley is a judge down in Waco. And Diane is a person of faith who believes that marriage is between one man and one woman. And so she made it as a policy of hers that she herself couldn't participate in marrying a same-sex couple. But she would refer to and actually arranged for other judges for people who wanted that of same sex.
And literally right down the street.
But that wasn't good enough. Right. And so she faced religious discrimination from the Texas Judicial Commission and the Texas State Commission on Judicial Conduct. And they actually sanctioned her because she herself wouldn't perform marriages that violated her religious beliefs. And so we litigated that case at the district court. The appellate court finally went to the Texas Supreme Court. We lost twice, but it's the last game that matters. And we won at the Texas Supreme Court, and they ruled in Judge Diane Hensley's favor.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, up next is the fifth graders Interfaith Prayer Club.
Yeah, so this is
Sweet Laura.
Yeah, Sweet Laura. So I mentioned Coach Kennedy at the beginning. Of course, Coach Kennedy's case involved Bremerton School District up in Bremerton, Washington. Well, if you go across, as I understand it, across the bay, you go to the town of Issaquah, and I'm sure our Washington listeners, viewers will get,
but they'll get a chuckle.
Will correct.
It's fine.
It sounds like it's a Native American term, Issaquah, Washington School District. But in that case, Laura, did you say Sweet Laura? Because she is Sweet Laura.
She's adorable.
And I encourage people, go look at those clips. Watch her on Fox News. She did such an outstanding job.
Incredible. Only in fifth grade, and she did an incredible job on live television for Fox News. It was incredible.
And so this elementary school decided that it would have a dozen non-religious clubs, including an LGBTQ club, Pride Club. But Laura, who wanted to start an interfaith prayer club, was denied because it was, quote, religion. And this is one where sort of the whole team threw it in because, yes, the lawyers did a demand letter and explained to them, hey, by the way, do you know, just a few miles away, we just won a Supreme Court case. And it talked about the rights of teachers and students in school. So you might read that case. But also, we did an effective job. Our team here at First Liberty, your team, the media comms team, our marketing team, did such an effective job of getting Laura's story out there that there really was a media blitz.
Oh, there was.
And, Laura was such an effective communicator, and it put so much pressure on the school district. And so just in a few weeks, they said uncle. Is that still a phrase? Do you know that, the phrase uncle? You don't know that?
We don't hear that as
you don't
much
hear that
anymore.
one? Is that
you can still say it though.
Okay. Well, some of our listeners and viewers will understand what uncle, but it was give up. I give up. Fortunately, that was just an effective use, and we're glad that the school then allowed Laura to have her club.
Yeah, but she did an incredible job. She might have a future in television.
I could see her someday. She may be sitting in your chair someday.
I know. She might be an attorney someday. Who knows? Okay, so next up, Spivak v. City of Philadelphia.
Yeah, another COVID case. And, we during COVID, we were just overwhelmed with the number of cases. So many just wrong results by governments, by private employers, really being disrespectful of folks' religious beliefs. This one comes from the city of Philadelphia and involved an assistant district attorney who's of the Jewish faith. And Rachel Spivak, as an Orthodox Jew, objected to receiving the COVID-19 vaccine, asked for a religious accommodation, and the district attorney just flat out denied. And so she went to district court, lost. We weren't involved at the district court. We got brought in on appeal. And at the Third Circuit, U.S. Court of Appeals, which is where Pennsylvania sits in the Third Circuit, we handled that case, argued that case. One of our young lawyers at First Liberty argued that case, and we were successful reversing the district court. And the district court, in a very, very strong opinion, found that the district attorney's decision arose from religious hostility, that it was actually hostile to Rachel's religious beliefs. And so a really great COVID-19 victory.
And then next, Minnesota Somali moms.
Yeah, this is one of those strange ones. And I think, a lot of people, it emphasizes what we do. So I just talked about a Jewish case. We talked about Laura Walker, who's Church of Latter-day Saints. Before that, we talked about the Navy SEALs, who varied religions, many a Catholic, but also evangelical Christians. But it just shows the broad, because religious freedom for one is religious freedom for all. And we believe that. We believe in religious liberty for all. And in this case, it involved Muslim moms who were immigrants from Somali, of all places. And so we represented 6 Somali Muslim families whose, just an unfortunate, we have other cases like this now, but they were being exposed at really early ages, elementary school ages, to books that were promoting an LGBTQ lifestyle. And they objected to that. And, the first thing is they wanted to know what their children were seeing. And I think, if there's anything positive that's come out of COVID, is I think parents are being challenged to be re-engaged. And so these parents, and you think immigrants to America, going to a public school, believing that America is a place of freedom, including religious freedom. And then their kids go to school and they start talking about our kids are being taught contrary to our religious beliefs. And they're promoting this lifestyle and agenda that we disagree with. And so the First Offense says, we want to know. We want to know what our kids are being taught, what they're being asked to read. And so, and then they said, well, we don't want that. We want to opt out. And in many states, have passed laws that give religious parents the rights to opt out. Unfortunately, Minnesota is not one of them. California is not one of them. And so we then had to approach the school board, the school district, and say, hey, we represent this group of Somali Muslim moms. They object to this. They want to know about it, one. And secondly, they want the option to opt out. Lengthy negotiations, but eventually with us threatening to sue, and again, us effectively using media, we were able to convince the school district that made sense. Now, like this one, I don't want to steal Kelly's thunder because I think he will talk about this one when he looks forward. But we have one so it just it shows why that case was important. Muslim moms were able to get the victory. Well, we've got a very similar case. This time, Christians in San Diego, again, elementary school, where the school is asking them to participate in something, read a book that's contrary to their religious beliefs, and so
mentor the kindergartners,
and also mentor is one word, another would be groom, to promote something that's completely contrary to their religious beliefs. So we're seeing this across the country. It's one to keep eye on. Eventually, the Supreme Court's going to take one of these cases. It actually had a case before it, and it's decided not to review it. Not one of First Liberty's case. One of the other groups had a case. And so eventually it could be our California case, the Encinitas case. Did I get that right?
The Encinas family in the Encinitas school district.
Which is, with someone who has a speech impediment, it's almost impossible to say Encinitas and Encinitas in the same sentence, although I just did it, I think.
Yeah, good job, good job. But these parental rights cases, they're so important. And I do want to piggyback off something you just said with all the different faiths that we represent, because I feel like there's a misconception, and we see it in comments on social media all the time. First Liberty only does Christian cases or Jewish cases, but no, we represent people of all faiths. And I think that's the beauty of America and the amazing work that First Liberty does. So I just wanted to debunk that myth while we're here on air. And
look, we've talked 4 or 5 cases, and we've talked about representing Christians, Protestant, Catholic, Mormon. We talked about representing Jewish people, and we've talked about representing Muslims.
Yeah, it's incredible. And the Muslim moms, I had the honor of helping them with media training, preparing for those interviews, and they're just the sweetest, and they had such a heart. And
when they came to this country for freedom.
Yeah, the American dream.
They came to this country for freedom, and they had the Minnesota School District telling them, no, you don't have religious freedom here. We're going to push our ideology on you.
I was so proud of those women and their families for standing up and being so strong. It was incredible. Okay, next, Knights of Columbus.
Yeah, this is another one of those we can't. Can you make it up? And this is a good one because elections do matter. So I don't think going forward, and especially with former Congressman Doug Collins, who's a great friend of First Liberty, being nominated to be Secretary of the Veterans Affairs, we won't have this type of case with Doug Collins as Secretary, but we did have it with Joe Biden's VA. And this is one where, again, you just can't make it up. The National Park Service was denied the Knights of Columbus from having a religious ceremony in the cemetery at the battlefield in Petersburg, Virginia. And so it's a cemetery, a national cemetery in a national park. You can't have religious activities at the cemetery in a national park. It's outrageous, ridiculous.
Cemeteries and funerals is when people often turn to faith, even if they weren't there before.
Well, it just, again, you can't, and some bureaucrat in making these type of decisions, and the fact that they doubled down and said, and it, again, took us filing a federal lawsuit, getting in front of the federal judge and getting it resolved.
Yeah, well, that was an incredible case. Okay, so next is New Jersey churches.
Yeah. So this is a interesting one too, because what's especially interesting is it builds upon one of the Supreme Court cases that we've won in the last few years. And I didn't mention it at the beginning, but we won a case 2 years ago, the same time as Kennedy. Kennedy kind of overshadows it, but just a very important case too is Carson versus Macon, which Carson versus Macon involved whether or not a state could deny religious families from using money for education because they were religious. And so it was essentially a school choice program that Maine had, but you couldn't use the money to send your kids to religious school. Supreme Court said 6-3, that's unconstitutional. Now, that's important for school choice, but there's a larger principle. And the larger principle was you can't deny money from the government to someone. You can have it except unless you use it for a religious reason. Well, the New Jersey church cases is that case. New Jersey has a historic preservation grant program. And so what they, in the wisdom of the state, they say, look, we're going to give money that you have an old building that needs to be refurbished, that has a historical past, then you can use these state funds to do that. Well, that's great. We want to restore. Well, I love history. I want there to be history buildings. Well, that's great. Except, if you're religious, you can't get it. And so a theater could get it. The Masonic Lodge could get it. A restaurant could get it, but not the Methodist Church, not the Lutheran Church, who are our clients, who were just historical as history. But because of the Carson cases, well, you can't deny benefits, equal benefits based upon religion. We were successful very, very recently. So this is a recent win, getting a preliminary injunction saying, no, by denying to religious institutions like the Methodist Church, like the Lutheran Church, that violates the principle in Carson v. Macon, and therefore what you're doing is unconstitutional. Big win, big win.
All right, next is Matthew Meineke.
Yeah, so Matthew Meineke is also an interesting case. Our good friend, recent lawyer to the First Liberty family, but longtime lawyer, Nate Kellum, represented Pastor Meineke, who was in Seattle, and he was arrested twice, censored and arrested twice. You think, what did this pastor do? What outrageous conduct did he do, Peyton? Do you know what he did? He was reading the Bible.
In public.
Public.
Oh, no.
In public. And you know what?
People saw him.
Some people were offended. Some people were offended about things that he was reading in the Bible. And so he was arrested. He went to jail for reading the Bible. And again, this is another one where it went to district court, wasn't successful, was successful at the Ninth Circuit. So I know sometimes we pick on the Ninth Circuit, but thanks to the first term of President Trump, the Ninth Circuit has gotten a lot better for people of faith. We can hope in a second term of President Trump it will get even better. But even the Ninth Circuit said, you can't send people to jail for reading the Bible in public. You could say other things in public, but you can't read the Bible because someone was offended. The case makes clear in the Ninth Circuit, there's no such thing. It's a term called heckler's veto, which is essentially if you complain, you can shut down speech, where our law says there is no heckler's veto. I'm offended by it. As you know, you've worked with me for a couple years now, a lot of things offend me. Do I get a heckler's veto? So anything I don't like, you can't do? Jeff Mateer would like that if I were king, but that's not the law, right? Being offended, you don't get a heckler's veto, and the Meineke case stands for that. And so after winning at the Ninth Circuit, it went back down, and the city of Seattle agreed to a consent order, which they permanently enjoined their policy, which prohibits this type of activity, and they're going to pay some attorney's fees as well. Yeah. So another big victory, and I give kudos to my colleague Nate Kellum, because this was his case. He did an outstanding job, and look, it's winning cases in Seattle, Washington, and at the Ninth Circuit is not easy.
It's incredible. That's one of those cases you hear and you can't believe that it's happening in the United States.
A pastor reading the Bible, going to jail.
Yeah, and that's America. But nope, I'm proud of the Ninth Circuit and how they decided to rule. Okay, let's go through these last two quickly. And what about wall builders?
Yeah, so wall builders, of course, wall builders is the ministry run by David and Tim Barton, our really good friends. Historians, and they made a decision that they wanted to run ads on buses in DC, and so they submitted an ad that had the very controversial picture of George Washington kneeling, asking the very apparently, and the sarcasm is my love language. You knew that.
Yeah.
And so being sarcastic, not controversial. It's George Washington, our first president.
Historical.
And simply saying, having him kneeling, saying Christian ?
Yep.
And the folks at the Washington Metro decided that was not permissible, that we can't have ads promoting religion. And so said no to that ad. And so we went to court. The case is going on, but the preliminary ruling that the court had was that ad is constitutional. They have to run it. You know what's neat? We've been in Washington a few times since, and we've actually got, I don't know if you got to see it.
I took a picture. And then I immediately texted it to Jeremy.
Yeah, we actually have seen the ads now. So the ads are out there. So, something that really, that's a case that we tangibly saw the difference in that these ads are now being run.
That's awesome. And now, Church of the Rock.
Yeah, so another one, we have this set of cases. Dad's Place being one. I know that was this past week's First Liberty Live, and if you haven't seen it, go check it out, because what's happening in Bryan, Ohio is it's just sad. Yeah. It's so sad, and there's this series of cases that we have, whether it's Ohio, we've got cases in Arizona, Florida, this one in Colorado, where it's really the local government criminalizing compassion, and where you've got local governments for various reasons, but none other than just being hostile to really religious ministry. And so in Colorado, the town or city of Castle Rock decided that it didn't want the Rock Church from ministering to homeless people. And the Rock Church had 2 RVs that were parked in the back of has 2 RVs that are parked in the back of its big parking lot, in which they were bringing homeless people in and housing them. And the city said that temporarily, and the city said that wasn't acceptable. You can't do that. You have to stop. And so we went to federal court. We successfully got an injunction that stopped the city, that allows the church to do its ministry. And it's, when governments, whether it's Dad's Place, whether it's Church on the Rock, when the government thinks it knows better about how to minister, well, that's not the most effective. You should do something else in serving the homeless. No, it's not up to the government to tell churches or other religious groups how to minister. And that's offensive. That violates the First Amendment. Free exercise means free exercise. It means engaging in ministry. And a ministry is more than just the 4 walls of the church. It's more than singing songs, which is part of ministry, but it's more than singing songs. It's more than preaching. It's more than taking communion. It's actually engage in serving people. Yeah. And we know as Christian believers, we look at the life of Jesus revealed in the scriptures. And yes, he did. Yes, he preached the word. Yes, he worshiped, but he also served people. Yeah. And he served the least of these. And that's what these churches are doing. And when local government, city of Bryan, Ohio, the city of Castle Rock, when they interfere with that, well, that violates the First Amendment. And so thankfully we had a judge in Colorado who understood that, issued the injunction, and the church can do what it feels it's called to do.
Being the hands and feet of Jesus.
Absolutely.
Taking care of the orphans, the widows, and those in need. All right. Well, those were just some of our victories for this year. You got more. Perfect.
Got more, no.
Well, actually, my next point was I was going to ask you, do you have any honorable mentions? Well, those were like the top 12. But what are your honorable mentions?
Yeah,
Jeff?
that's a good question. So you're asking me a question that of course, you know me.
You're about to set yourself up for it. So I had to ask. Yeah. You said you wanted to talk about more.
Yeah, I prepare for that. We had a lot. There are a lot of times. For instance, I'll just give you one that literally just happened and had we been preparing this, I worked on this maybe, you
sent me some of the
I sent it earlier this week. But if I'd been preparing on today, I would have added the mercy culture church case, which again, it's another one of these criminalizing compassion cases. But Mercy Culture Church in Fort Worth decided, hey, there is a problem with human trafficking in our city. And it really is, I know from my time at the Attorney General's office, there really is a lot of human trafficking going on the state of Texas. And it's one of those ignored problems, and it's happening everywhere. It's not just down on the border. It is everywhere. Well, this church in Fort Worth, they noticed it. So you think of Fort Worth, stockyards, but in Fort Worth, there's a problem with human trafficking. And so church wanted to address that, open up a ministry, have a facility where they could address human trafficking. And initially, the city of Fort Worth said, no, you can't do that. And fortunately, they reached out to us, and we were able to convince the city council otherwise. And last week, the city reversed its decision, and they're going to allow the church to do its ministry. But again, it's their first reaction. Well, we don't want you, church, involved in that. We got other plans. We got other things to do. No, this is engaging in ministry. So I put that on the honorable mention list.
Yeah. So many of these church cases, they just blow my mind that they're actually happening in the United States. And that was even part of the original purpose of separation of church and state, is the government not getting involved with the church, keeping out of the church.
Yep. Keep. And that's exactly what Jefferson meant by that phrase. And that's what he was telling the Danbury Baptists. Keep the government out of the church. Never meant, no idea that we're going to somehow restrict, again, the free exercise of religious institutions.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for this work on this. These are incredible cases. Again, people can check it out. I do want to give you the opportunity. Would you like to speak to our judicial review process and some of the work that we do there?
Yeah, that's an ongoing process. Obviously, we're going to switch gears. It's one thing from playing, kind of use sports analogy, playing defense.
Yep.
And during the 4 years of the Biden administration, it was everything we could do to try to keep bad people off the bench. And now with the election re-election of President Trump, we'll switch to offense, and it'll be make sure that we get good people, excellent people of faith, people who see the world the way we see, people who are committed to the Constitution, to the rule of law, making sure those men and women are at the top of the president's list.
Yeah, vet them for real and their voting record, and that they're true to religious liberty. That's incredible. Well, thank you, Jeff. This has been so informative and great. I hope our viewers enjoy hearing a quick rundown of just a few of the cases that we've had going on.
Yeah, we have 128 more to go.
No, yeah, there we go. Let's tune in for the next episode on that. But anyway, thank you so much. It's so informative. I do want to give you the opportunity to look into the camera, and you can express your appreciation to our supporters who make all of this possible.
Yeah, we can have these great victories, and it's my privilege to get to work with some great colleagues on the legal team, our marketing team, our development team, those who take care of us in the administrative team, and just surrounded by just exceptional people. And we can have these great victories, but none of us can do our work unless we have the resources. And so we don't exist without our supporters. So thank you. And we look forward to, I'm just really excited. And I know, Kelly's going to get to talk about next week, 2025, but a lot of good things in the works. We have more opportunity for greater victories than we've ever had before. But at the same time, the threats to religious liberty have never been as serious and real. Yeah. So thank you for your support.
Well, Jeff, thank you so much for your time and the way that you lead at First Liberty with so much humility. And I'm going to say that on air. Jeff is an incredible leader here at First Liberty and behind the scenes. And we couldn't do a lot of what we do without you. So thank you. And we appreciate you. So if you would like to support the work of First Liberty, you can find out more at firstliberty.org. And if you would like to support the defending of religious liberty moving into 2025, right now is a great time to give. We have a matching grant of $500,000. So what does that mean? That means that every dollar you give, the impact is doubled up to $500,000. So now's a great time. Again, firstliberty.org. You'll see the big red give button. And we just want to say thank you in advance. So from our family to yours, thank you so very much. First Liberty, fighting for what matters most.